Whatever we have seen is directly or indirectly, it is due to the climate change. We must agree to that. Sort of a warning to all of us. Why the globe is affecting so bad? Why the God is so bad to us? It's not that God is not appearing here, but we ourselves, the human beings, we have made it. Let us accept it. How we have made it, we know it. But why we are ignorant about it? Why are you cutting the forest? Why are you emitting carbon dioxide, all other toxic gases in the air? Why are you polluting the water? Why are you polluting the soil? We know it. But why, at the same time, why can't we control ourselves? If you see the history of Bombay, 7 islands, where are the 7 islands? There is no island at all. Why the flood is affected? Because we have changed the entire land use pattern of Bombay city. Let us agree to that. Botanists are not finding the mangrove species in Bombay city. Even the botany people, the biology people, they have to collect all the species of mangrove near Bombay coast. Today, nothing is available because there is nothing. You cut the mangrove, fill it with the garbage and make a building. That's what it is. The water from the glacier, from the top coming down, and the ocean is rising because of that. So naturally there is a increase of temperature at the top. So this is the condition today. This is who has done it. We have done it. And we have realized that this is whatever affected, it is due to, because of us. But why can't we act? On behalf of CII, I would say, I'm going to put it to my committee that at least my industry brothers should take care of whatever the waste they are generating. They should treat themselves. They have to be proactive. They should plant some more trees. Whatever the carbon dioxide is generated, at least they should make an arrangement to absorb the carbon dioxide by making more green coverage.
The victims of global warming are the least advantaged, the least able to resist and most traumatized by this. I think they also showed, perhaps through their absence, the lack of official intervention and any kind of help. And what I'm struck by is the lack of public debate and leadership from industry, from business, from commerce, and so forth, and indeed ultimately from government. I offer, in contrast, what passes for public debate in China, and admittedly it's not very wide, but under the circumstances there, when senior public officials stand up and speak, you know that at least this is reaching certain high levels of governance. And this week we heard the mayor of Shenzhen, in the very buoyant southern part of the country that's enjoying spectacular growth, saying that he's rather urging the people of that city not to buy a car. That's a form of leadership. I'm unsure how it will filter through, but I offer those as examples of something that I don't sense is happening in this country.
I'll talk about a power plant which Tata Power is planning to build in Mundra. It's called an ultra mega power plant. It's going to use a supercritical technology. These are a lot of big words. The whole idea is the thermal efficiency is something of the order of 43%, 44%, correct me if I'm wrong, as against 32 or 33% of regular power plants, such as Mumbai. What we can do at our own level is energy conservation, and that will help tremendously. The fact that we are growing at 11 or 12% of energy consumption clearly shows that there is at least 2 or 3% waste there, and if we could throttle that down, it will help tremendously in terms of reducing the increase of CO2.
I agree with all that you said. My experience of covering and writing about industry here is that actually I hold Tata Group to be an exception to most things. The second point is that our collective point about the Chinese leadership was not necessarily to make a comparison between the models, but simply that important people are speaking. And of course, we wouldn't be so naive as to suggest that India's model be compared unfavorably with China's at all. It's merely to illustrate that someone has been kicked up the backside in China to stand up and speak.
We have to act locally, that's it. For a global this thing, we have to act locally, then only it will work. There is no need of a company other country or other state, because we have to act very much locally. That's what I always believe in that.
Okay, if I might, I think part of my job as chair is also to shake things up a little. Before we get into a very comfortable position that countries like China don't have any bearing on India, I'd like to suggest they do. I'd like to suggest that globally, countries like China have stolen a march on India developmentally in terms of the technology that they're using for their infrastructure. We already see global positioning systems which are used in building construction in China. I know of none of that application of technology in Indian infrastructure. I think if we're looking at climate change as a major competitive challenge and a competitiveness opportunity for India, that we have to be a lot more alive to the challenge that this poses for our use of energy, for the state of our infrastructure and how we're going about making massive investments in public and private infrastructure. And really to challenge even you, the gentleman from Tata Power. Presumably this is a coal-fired power plant. India is online right now to produce 200 coal-fired power plants. Admittedly, China is online to produce 500 more, but they also receive 10 times more foreign investment than we do. Now, our challenge as both countries, being countries which are entirely reliant, virtually 70 to 80% of our fuel is dirty coal. China has made quite considerable investments in clean coal technology. Now, if you're still looking at the model of a coal-fired power plant, that tells me that the government is not sending sufficient signals to industry that we need to move away from that technology and develop new ones, which you're working on the efficiency angle, but it still means we're going to be taking more coal out of the ground.
Prashant Koki, I am head environment. If we take it really seriously and do it, it is going to help a lot. Not that we are not having any initiatives at our end. Corporate charter on environment protection, I think CII is driving that, and lot many houses voluntarily are taking up environmental initiatives. It is there for 18 industries together, separately categorized, whatever we want to do. India basically is a frugal country. We are not very energy intensive in any field of activity. Now, do you still want to reduce further to accommodate somebody who is very much highly energy intensive, using 5 to 10 times more per capita? We'll have to think of some kind of a balance. Anyway, you are going to produce CO2, this way or that way. Because all these technologies add on to cost. Who is going to pay for that? Can we afford that?
China, of which you seem to be rather fond of in terms of their technological developments and commitments, let's talk about that. They are on track to emit more CO2 than the United States in another year. Now let's think that through for a second. Consider purchasing power parity based GDP. United States has about $13,000 billion. China, with all their inflated numbers, is 6,500. 50% less GDP, equal amount of CO2 emissions. Has to be thoroughly bad coal and very bad efficiency, no matter which way you cut it. On this issue, I don't think energy policy following China is the way to go.
I'm just wondering that just how important do you view this treaty as a possible solution?
In India, we have an oversensitivity. Part of my job as a provocative chair is to tickle that oversensitivity. We have an oversensitivity to China because globally China gets a lot better press on virtually every except non-democracy, human rights angle that one can think of. And I think that we need to challenge ourselves. My role and this initiative's role is to really act as a red group, is to make people like yourselves uncomfortable. Because even if we see exceptionalism in Indian industry as a result of Tata still being there and exerting some influence, we're not seeing that matched across the industry. Yeah? And that's why, I know that we've made the right partnering for this particular afternoon's discussion with Tata Sustainability. But I want to go beyond that and look at, where we know there are obvious challenges. We know that there are areas where we need to have massive efficiencies. Let's talk about our transportation sector, which is deplorable. It's now taken 10 years in Delhi for us to add an inch to the metro.
There are few industries in India. One of them is Tata. They don't care about whether there is a law or a policy or whatever it is. They don't believe in policy or what is mandatory or not mandatory. They go ahead with whatever they want to do, and they've done a great thing. Problem in India is, it is the middle scale, the medium scale and the small scale industries and illegal industries. We cannot compare with other countries, especially China, because ours is a very, very liberal democratic country of the world.
I think we have found two routes. One is the bigger players must try and work with their supply chain. Looking at CII membership, now that doesn't require any political will, but it definitely requires CEO will of all kinds of companies. Even if you eat a chocolate, the question is where will you throw the wrapper? There is no more of the picnics kind of workshops on awareness. It's more of delivering of service. There are 3-day workshops in which companies can Monday morning action sort of start putting up the GRI.
Ecological refugees. We're not talking about them. All livelihood alternatives. Like we saw in the film that there are a lot of people who are cutting down the trees or mangroves because they don't have alternatives to livelihood. And the other thing is the awareness, because if you notice there was this a comment by a person in the film where he says man is not responsible, it's the sea which is responsible.
Most of the time what we are doing is we're talking about global issues, and sometimes they become so generalized and vague that it is difficult to sort of tackle such issues. One is the industry initiative. If we see the balance sheets of most companies, they contain a chapter on environment. The other fact I felt was about urban planning. None of us talk about the fact how to reduce all this. And energy conservation in industry is not only significant, but it is also important in our own household. We are not prepared to change our habits. We must have everything best and preach about global warming. And that's what the problem is.
The films are just a starting point, I think. There's a lot more we need to do. The other point I want to make is we have very little time to actually act on it.
We assume, in a sense, a leadership role because we do the design engineering of the plants that come up, the industries that come up. So we have got a very serious role to play as far as the climate change goes. Actually, if you are aware, there were 6 working groups which were formed of the 6 countries that are there: China, Australia, Korea, Japan, USA. And these 6 groups are in the key core areas of mining, energy, clean coal technology, steel industry, aluminum, cement. And they are supposed to identify areas of where they can bring in higher efficiencies to reduce such emissions which can cause the climate change.
From CII, I'm sure that I think I have this cassette with me. We'll show the cassette to our members of the Environment and Conservation Committee. And whatever best I can do, I will request all the members of CII to contribute directly and indirectly to save this climate change.
A number of people have spoken about how companies can help each other. Having spent so long in the company of companies, I'm not sure that companies are quite at that stage where they're going to give their competitive edge away on a silver platter to other companies. I think it's best left to industry bodies, realistically, to perform that act of altruism. There's no reason why Tata should stop doing what it's doing to teach another 5 companies in Maharashtra. I'm not convinced that that sense of maturity has been reached by anyone.
Thank you very much. And Cosm, I want to continue on that theme just briefly, because as I've said, the reason that we've launched this nationwide initiative is because we want to improve the quality of debate that there is around environment issues, economic issues, and put climate change centre stage, not as an environmental issue, but very much as the issue which is going to enable us to live in harmony as a democracy or not. Everything that we know from the science, and I started off very much as a skeptic on these issues about 15 years ago. It's that long that I've been working on climate change issues. We are also launching Climate Challenge India clubs around the place. What it means is you're free to do so in whatever institution you wish, whether it's your workplace or whether it's a Rotary club. We will provide you with resources to help you do that, intellectual, financial, so that you can go out there and make the change that you wish to. We'll be back here in Bombay in September. By that time, I want us already to have entered into a conversation with the BMC, because the BMC, the mayor of Bombay, was in New York from May the 16th to the 17th, participating in the city summit organised by the Clinton Foundation and the Climate Group. Now, I wonder whether the mayor has come back and shared any of that with the good people of Bombay and said, hey, listen, I'm now part of a leadership group and this is what we want to do. So we want to create platforms where people can, exert the right degree of pressure to get delivery from leaders who walk the talk but are not yet talk the talk but are not yet ready to walk the talk. It just remains for me to thank you very much for staying to the bitter end and sharing your thoughts and your contributions with us. I very much want to thank Anand for being so ready to say, yes, CSM will happily partner you in beginning this conversation internally and externally around climate change. I want you to know that for us this is the beginnings of a relationship with each other. So we hope that you've all given us your contact details. Please feel free to come back to us at any point, and let's see what we can do together in the coming weeks and months.